Yo, what's up guys? James here. Welcome to a new tutorial. This one's going to be pretty good, I reckon. It's going to be more practical than the previous ones. I'm going to keep these ones short and informative. I want you guys to be able to take it in very easily and follow along if you like. So basically what we're going to do is create a character set. We're going to take a character, a rig, and we're going to create a whole new character from scratch in what we call in the game industry an animation tree or animation network, or let's call all sorts of names. But if you don't know, when you play a video game, all of the character animation, all of the movement that you see the characters play they're basically bite-sized little bits of animation that piece together, blend in and out based on the buttons that you press or situations that the character finds itself in, and all of those tiny little bits of animation make up what we call an animation tree. So for these tutorials, what we're going to do is we're going to figure out the animation tree, what animations we're going to create, how they're going to piece together. Then we're going to go through the process that I always go through when starting a new character set. I kind of went through a little bit of it before in some of the previous videos where we do some research and we try and figure out the style of the character, the style of the animation. And hopefully with these little short tutorials, if you follow along, we'll create a whole character from scratch, a simple one at least. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so I said we were going to focus mainly on practical stuff, but before we get to all that, I kind of got to go through a little bit of theory about what an animation tree is. So like I said before, all the animation in the games that we play are basically a ton of little bite-sized pieces of animation strung together. So a very simple animation tree would be, for example, the idle, and in like the kind of like 8-bit or 16-bit games, whenever you press the button forward, he'd start walking. And then you'd let go of the button and he'd stop and it'd be idling again. I guess just to explain real quick, the idle pose, the idle animation could be multiple animations. There could be multiple different idle animations. If you've played in most games nowadays, if you leave the character for a while, he might adjust his clothing or look around or get a little bit impatient. And those are little separate animations that play not randomly, but yeah, I suppose it is random. So you have like your regular, like default idle, which is probably just standing there breathing, and then you might have those little incidental pieces of animation that kind of happen every so often. But anyway, our kind of 8-bit animation tree is very simple. Idle, press forward, he walks. You let go of the button, goes back to idle. Nowadays, however, because we have analog buttons on our controllers, so we can have kind of a different degrees of movement, different speeds. We would have, you press forward on the stick, it doesn't just spring into the walk cycle. He doesn't just like snap into it. You know, there's a transition. So you see the character, he puts his foot down and kind of like slowly eases into his walk. And that's a separate animation. And so he's walking now, his walk cycle, you let go of the button, and again, he doesn't just spring back into his idle, he doesn't just freeze on the spot. He does a transition, walk to idle. You can see him slow down and stop. Usually we want him to stop as quickly as possible and as without making too much more ground after you've let go of the button. So he might slow down a little bit abruptly sometimes, depending on the game. But yeah, this is kind of generally what we have nowadays in games. Idle, transition to the walk cycle, he's walk cycling, and you let go, transition back to idle. Now, from here it gets a little bit more complicated because we want responsiveness in games, so especially with the main character who you're controlling, if you let go of the button, the forward button, while he's walking, depending on how long his walk cycle is, his left foot could be making contact with the ground, or his right foot could be making contact with the ground. And so the transition that we have between the walk cycle and the idle needs to be smooth. It needs to reflect that. So a lot of the time nowadays we actually have walk to idle. And that goes back to idle, and that also goes back to idle. So what these are, say you're in your walk cycle and he's walking along and he's just planted his left foot and you let go of the button. So it will play this transition back to idle. It's the walk to idle left. His left foot is on the ground when it plays this animation. And the game will know. And I won't talk about that stuff, but likewise, if he's just planted his right foot, walk to idle right, back to idle. And if he's kind of in the middle somewhere, the game will choose which one is closest. If that makes sense. So you can see how animation trees can get pretty complicated pretty quickly. And in this tutorial series, I'm not going to animate all of these. We're going to keep it really, really simple because, you know, once you get the idea of things, you can scale up really easily. And this is only meant to be a primer, I guess, an introduction to how animation trees work. So, speaking of stuff we're going to get into later on, what I'm thinking is idle, of course. I'm just going to do the one idle. We're going to have a walk, general locomotion, so walk and run. we're going to have a jump. And also, of course, the transitions between each of them. So idle to walk and then back again. Idle to, yeah, this is where it gets complicated. So idle to run, if you say, for example, tap the analog stick forward quickly. If you push all the way quickly, he'll go straight into the run. So that's a different transition. But then we also have a transition from the walk to the run if you do it slowly, and vice versa if you let go slowly. And if you let go quickly, then back to idle very quickly. But here, you can see now how it starts to get complicated. There's going to be transitions between all of these animations. I'm going to do it as simple as possible, and I'll explain as we go along. But for now, you get the idea. Again, idle to jump, and then jump back to idle. And jump entails, again, I'll get into it when we get there, but a jump will entail multiple different animations that are put together to make one smooth looking fluid piece of animation that looks like one animation. And it can get really complicated if you include double jumping or jumping off walls. Next time you play in a game, have a look at all of the different types of things that your character does when you interact with the world. He can be, if you jump forward and he jumps into a wall, he might do something completely different. Which means branching off into a different set of animations. He might run along the wall, or he might jump off the wall, or he might just not do anything. You can see how animation trees can get bigger and bigger and more complicated. Anyway, for the purpose of this tutorial series, we're going to keep it simple. Idle, walk around, jump, and combat. Maybe a light attack and a heavy attack, or combo. Not sure yet. But generally, actually, combat is meant to be really quick and responsive, though you don't have much of a transition between idle and combat, but you definitely have transition back from combat to idle. And again, that entails different moves. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get there. So yeah, that's kind of covering the basics of the average character in a video game these days. Yeah. So from here, the next tutorial video, we are gonna go and create ourselves, or we're gonna pick a character, and we're gonna create an idol. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use my original tutorial, combat tutorial part 1, and we're gonna go through that little checklist that I made, that little pre-animation checklist that I made, that I do when animating characters, research and thumbnails and all that stuff. So we're going to create a character. We're going to create a character with a personality and a specific way that he or she is going to move. And that will be in the next tutorial video, so look forward to that. But for now, I'm going to leave it here. See ya.